Every word you speak either builds trust or quietly pushes people away. Most people never realize it, but our conversations expose the quality of our mind. The way we listen, interrupt, or seek validation reveals whether we've mastered ourselves or whether we're still chasing approval without knowing it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your speech is simply that color spoken out loud. Stoic communication isn't about talking more. It's about speaking with awareness, calm, and discipline. In this video, we'll explore 8 subtle habits that quietly make people pull away from you, and how to replace them with stoic wisdom, self-control, and emotional clarity. Stay until the end. I'll share 8 daily rituals to help you speak less, mean more, and be remembered for your presence, not just your words. 1. Talking too much about yourself. Most people talk to express themselves. The Stoic talks to understand the world. There's a quiet arrogance hidden in the habit of turning every conversation back to your story. You don't notice it while doing it. You're excited, trying to connect, trying to be relatable. But slowly, everything shifts. People smile less, their eyes drift, their energy changes. Because what people really want in a conversation isn't information, it's recognition. They want to feel seen, not overshadowed, heard, not buried under someone else's monologue. When every sentence begins with "I," you stop seeing them at all. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Do not waste the rest of your life in thoughts about others unless they relate to a common good." In other words, don't speak to display yourself. Speak to support understanding, harmony, and respect. When you dominate a conversation, you unknowingly send the message, "My world matters more than yours." That's not confidence, that's insecurity disguised as self-expression. Stoicism teaches that a disciplined mind doesn't crave to be heard. It listens deeply to know what's worth saying. Try this the next time you want to talk about yourself. Pause and ask, am I adding value or am I seeking validation? If it's validation, stop. Shift the spotlight. Ask a question that opens their world. Notice how their shoulders relax, how their eyes brighten when they feel truly listened to. That is the unseen power of restraint. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you stop centering yourself, people feel more connected to you. It's not silence for the sake of silence. It's clarity through self-control. Your discipline in speech becomes the mirror of your inner order. Speak with intention, not impulse. Listen as if you're trying to understand the universe through one human being. Because you are. Never forget, the less you talk, the more people feel heard. And the people who feel heard will always return. 2. Interrupting mid-sentence. To interrupt is to silently declare, "What I have to say matters more than what you're saying right now." It doesn't always come from arrogance. Sometimes it's excitement, anxiety, or a mind racing ahead. But the effect is always the same. It breaks presence. A conversation that could have flowed becomes a competition for airtime. When you cut someone off, you don't just interrupt their sentence, you interrupt their dignity. The Stoics would call this a failure of temperance, the virtue of restraint. Because if you can't master the urge to speak, how can you hope to master anything else in your life? Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Every time you rush to respond, you give your freedom away, to impulse, to ego, to the fear of silence. You may think you're showing engagement, but what you're actually showing is a lack of discipline. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the wise person knows both how to hold his tongue and when to open it. When you interrupt, you close the door to understanding. But when you pause, just 2 seconds, you create space for truth to appear. And that space is where respect grows. The Stoic practice here is simple, but not easy. Pause, breathe, observe. When someone speaks, hold your response at the gate of your lips until they finish. Feel the weight of that restraint. That is strength disguised as silence. Let them complete their thought, not because you agree, but because you respect their humanity. Each time you resist the impulse to jump in, you sharpen the blade of patience. You train your mind to listen before judging, to understand before replying. This discipline doesn't make you quieter, it makes you powerful. In a world addicted to noise, a calm listener becomes magnetic. People remember how they felt speaking to you, whether they felt rushed or relaxed, dismissed or valued. The Stoic communicator gives every person room to finish. That small courtesy transforms conversations into connection. You stop being another loud voice and start becoming a clear mirror, someone through whom others can finally hear themselves. And that paradoxically gives you more influence than any clever interruption ever could. So train yourself to wait. Count to 2 before speaking. Let silence become your ally instead of your enemy, because silence reveals what words hide: patience, confidence, respect. When you master the pause, people feel safer around you. They open up more deeply, and in that openness, they reveal truths that only patience can uncover. Interrupting is easy. Listening is art. Stoicism teaches that mastering your tongue is mastering your life. So breathe before you speak. Let others finish. And when your turn finally comes, speak with such clarity and calm that your words carry the weight of the 10,000 interruptions you never made. Patience earns more respect than brilliance. 3. Subtle negativity and complaining. Have you ever noticed how a single complaint can change the energy of an entire room? It starts small, a sigh, a quiet, "Why does this always happen to me?" or a joke with criticism hidden inside. But slowly, the tone shifts. The air becomes heavier. A conversation that could have lifted everyone begins to sink. Without realizing it, we become the source of the tension we claim to dislike. The Stoics warned us long ago, what you dwell on, you become. A mind focused on irritation paints the world in darker shades. And the worst part? It's contagious. Your negativity doesn't live only in your head. It seeps into your voice, your posture, your presence. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That is the essence of complaining. It gives power to imagined pain and keeps real peace out of reach. The more you repeat your frustrations aloud, the deeper they carve into your identity. Every "I can't believe this" is a rehearsal of helplessness. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about questioning them. Is this truly unfair, or am I expecting life to be softer than it is? Is this a punishment, or simply a test of discipline? When you stop reacting and start reflecting, complaints lose their grip. Reality is rarely cruel. It's the commentary we add that makes it overwhelming. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Notice the power in that simplicity. No drama, no self-pity, only choice. Endure or change what can be changed. nothing in between. Imagine if every moment you wanted to vent became a moment you redirected your energy toward action, clarity, growth. That is Stoic alchemy, turning irritation into strength. Next time you feel the urge to complain, pause. Ask, what can I practice here? Shift your attention from repetition to responsibility. The world may remain imperfect, but your inner world will stop being poisoned. Negativity feels honest, but often it's laziness disguised as truth. It takes no wisdom to point out what's wrong. It takes strength to face it calmly. The Stoic does not speak to magnify suffering. He speaks to restore order. Master what leaves your mouth, and you master what stays in your mind. Speak less of what hurts. Speak more of what builds. Watch how the energy around you follows. The goal is not to be admired, it's to be anchored. So the next time you speak, imagine your words coming from a place that needs nothing in return. Let silence follow without panic. Trust that your value was established long before anyone responded. Real confidence doesn't echo. It resonates quietly inside you. Confidence whispers. Insecurity explains. 4. Correcting people constantly. The more you feel the need to correct others, the less peace you have within yourself. It sounds noble to want accuracy, to fix misinformation, to set the record straight. But most of the time, it isn't about truth. It's about control. We correct because we can't stand imperfection, or because we secretly fear being invisible. Yet the Stoics remind us, peace doesn't come from proving others wrong. It comes from mastering the need to. Every time you rush to fix someone's words, you declare that your ego outranks their humanity. You might win the argument, but you lose the relationship. Marcus Aurelius faced endless debates as emperor, yet he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That is Stoic wisdom distilled into one command. Stop talking about virtue. Embody it. Correcting people endlessly is often a subtle performance of superiority, a way of saying, I know better than you. But true wisdom doesn't shout. It lives quietly in example, in consistency, in calm strength. The Stoic learns that silence is not surrender. It's a strategy. By staying composed when others err, you become the rare presence that steadies the storm. Think about it. The people who constantly correct are rarely remembered for being right. They're remembered for being exhausting. The ones who listen, who choose patience over pride, are remembered with respect. The Stoic doesn't let every mistaken opinion become a battlefield. He chooses which wars are worthy of his energy, and most are not. When you let small errors pass, you protect your inner stillness. You remind yourself that being respected is better than being right. Practice this in your next conversation. When someone says something slightly wrong, feel the urge to correct rise in your chest, and then don't. Notice the power in that restraint. You'll feel lighter, more in control. Later, if truth truly matters, share it gently, with intention, not ego. I see it a little differently as enough. Truth offered without pride becomes a bridge, not a sword. The goal is not to silence others, it's to speak without violence. Seneca wrote, "It is better to conquer our passions than to conquer nations." That includes the passion for being right. In a world obsessed with opinions, correction is cheap. Composure is priceless. Every time you resist the temptation to dominate a conversation with your correctness, you remind yourself that wisdom is not loud. It is disciplined, balanced, and kind. So hold your tongue a little longer. Choose calm over cleverness. Let your peace prove your point. Because the loudest truth is not the one shouted, it's the one lived. Peace is stronger than proving a point. 5. Seeking validation. Mid-conversation. Why do we crave other people's approval, even in the middle of our own sentences? You can hear it in the small pauses. Do you know what I mean? That makes sense, right? It sounds harmless, even polite. But hidden beneath it is a quiet fear. The fear of not being enough unless someone else confirms it. Each time you search for agreement in real time, you hand your confidence to the listener and wait for them to feed it back. The Stoics would call that a dangerous dependence, giving away your peace for a nod that might never come. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish." In other words, stop managing people's perception of you and start mastering your perception of yourself. Validation is a moving target. Chase it, and you'll spend your life running. But anchor it within, and you'll walk through conversations with quiet certainty. A Stoic knows that self-approval is not arrogance, it's inner alignment. When your words reflect your values, they don't need applause to stand strong. The sound of truth is calm, not loud. Think about the people who command attention effortlessly, not by asking for it, but by embodying composure. They speak as if their worth was already settled before they opened their mouths. You can feel it. No tension, no seeking, just grounded presence. That's the energy of someone who has stopped auditioning for acceptance. Every time you say, "Do you think I did the right thing?" you invite judgment where confidence should be. It's not humility, it's self-doubt disguised as politeness. To practice Stoic validation, start small. Before you enter a conversation, remind yourself, "I speak from integrity, not insecurity." Breathe into that sentence. Let it settle in your body. When you share an opinion, resist the urge to scan faces for approval. Stay centered in your message. If someone disagrees, good. That's proof you're independent, not invisible. When you catch yourself fishing for affirmation, pause. Replace the question, "Was that okay?" with the statement, "That's what I believe." Feel the shift from seeking permission to owning your truth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "It is not what they say or think about you that harms you, but what you think about it." Their reaction is outside your control. Your self-regard is not. The Stoic doesn't need to be right in every eye, only aligned in his own conscience. The goal is not to be admired, it's to be anchored. So the next time you speak, imagine your words flowing from a place that needs nothing back. Let silence follow without panic. Trust that your value was established long before anyone responded. Real confidence doesn't echo. It resonates quietly inside you. Confidence whispers. Insecurity explains. 6. Oversharing or emotional dumping. You meet someone, and within minutes, they're pouring out every detail of their struggles, their heartbreaks, frustrations, disappointments, and everyone who has wronged them. The air becomes heavy. You feel trapped between compassion and exhaustion. We've all met that person, and at times, we've been that person. Oversharing feels like connection, but in truth, it's self-relief disguised as intimacy. You're not building a bond, you're transferring a burden. The Stoics wouldn't call this vulnerability. They'd call it a failure of discipline, letting emotions rule the tongue before the mind has processed them. Seneca wrote, "It is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it." When you unload your feelings on anyone who will listen, you're not healing. You're escaping the responsibility to sit with your emotions quietly. Stoicism teaches that emotions are signals, not commands. You honor them by understanding, not by broadcasting. To speak of pain wisely, you must first sit with it in silence. Healing begins not in confession, but in reflection. Emotional dumping often comes from loneliness. You want to be seen, so you reveal everything, hoping honesty will create closeness. But closeness doesn't come from chaos. It comes from composure. When you share too soon or too deeply, people pull away. Not because they don't care, but because they feel overwhelmed. You've placed them in the role of a therapist they never asked to be. And that makes you feel abandoned, proving the very fear that caused the oversharing. It's a painful loop. Stoicism offers a way out. Before you speak about your pain, ask, am I seeking understanding or am I seeking release? If it's release, pause, write it down. Let the page hear you first, as Marcus Aurelius did in his meditations. Once the storm inside settles, share only what remains, the insight, not the chaos. Restraint is not repression, it is refinement. The Stoic doesn't hide emotion, they channel it. Speak only after your heart has settled. When you do, people will feel your clarity rather than your confusion. They'll trust you, not because you shared everything, but because you showed control. Heal before you reveal. 7. Sarcasm disguised as humor. Why do we hide our truth behind a joke? Sarcasm is often praised as wit, but beneath the laughter usually lies something sharper: resentment, frustration, insecurity. It is the art of wounding without taking responsibility. You say something cruel, then soften it with a smile. The other person laughs awkwardly, unsure whether it was a joke. And in that uncertainty, trust dies a little. Stoicism would call sarcasm a misuse of speech. The tongue, acting before virtue, has time to intervene. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Sarcasm is subtle revenge. It lets us punish others for emotions we're afraid to express directly. It seems clever, but it reveals insecurity. Sarcasm says, "I'd rather mock than be misunderstood. I'd rather hurt you than expose how I feel." True strength is sincerity without fear, not irony as armor. People eventually stop opening up to someone who weaponizes humor. They begin guarding themselves, waiting for the next invisible cut. Sarcasm raises walls higher than anger ever could. The Stoic uses words to build trust, not test it. To break this habit, ask, am I creating laughter or discomfort? If the answer is discomfort, choose clarity instead. Truth doesn't need venom to carry weight. Replace sarcasm with humor that uplifts. Speak honestly without the sting. People will lean in instead of bracing themselves. Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. Kindness is not weakness, it is strength under control." Sarcasm may earn attention, sincerity earns respect. Be honest without being cruel. Be kind without being naive. That is Stoic communication. 8. Giving unsolicited advice. The more you try to help people who never ask for your help, the more they resist. You mean well, yet your words build walls instead of bridges. Unsolicited advice rarely comes from kindness. It comes from discomfort. You see someone struggling, and instead of sitting with their pain, you rush to fix it, not for them, but to quiet your own unease. Stoicism calls this attachment to outcome, the inability to let others walk their own path. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." The world needs fewer instructors and more examples. When you give constant advice, you assume, "I know better than you. My experience fits your life. My solution is the right solution." But wisdom without invitation becomes arrogance. When someone shares something vulnerable and you respond with, "You should," the message they hear is, "You're wrong. You didn't think enough. You're not capable." Advice without empathy is judgment in disguise. People don't want to be fixed. They want to be understood. The Stoic learns to sit with discomfort, to listen without rushing to direct, correct, or rescue. Because most of the time, people don't need answers. They need presence. Stoicism teaches discernment, to act only within what's in your control. Other people's growth isn't. You can plant ideas through example, but you can't force enlightenment. The Stoic doesn't rush to steer others. He stays calm in his own lane, living his principles so clearly that others choose to follow. So, practice restraint. When someone vents, listen fully. Don't prepare your response. Prepare your presence. If you feel compelled to speak, ask, "Would you like my perspective?" That simple question honors their autonomy and signals respect. If they say yes, share briefly and humbly. If they say no, let silence be your gift. Sometimes being quiet is the highest form of guidance. Your calm becomes the mirror in which they see their own answers. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Teach them better if you can. If you cannot, remember that kindness is also possible in silence." You're not responsible for fixing everyone. You're responsible for mastering yourself. The Stoic way of helping isn't to tell people what to do. It's to become the kind of person whose presence reminds them what's possible. So next time you feel the urge to advise, pause. Ask yourself whether your words serve your ego or their freedom. Choose silence if it's the latter. Let your peace speak louder than your guidance. Because those who truly want to grow will always find your example, not your instruction. Presence teaches louder than advice. You've just walked through 8 quiet lessons, not about others, but about yourself. The truth is, communication isn't just about words, it's about presence. Every time you speak with awareness, you train your mind to choose peace over impulse, understanding over ego. That's what Stoicism really is, not coldness, but conscious mastery. Remember this, people rarely remember what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. Speak less, listen more, respect the silence between words. That's where wisdom breathes. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let your thoughts be calm. Let your words carry that calm into the world. If this message spoke to you, comment your affirmation below. I speak with awareness. Like, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but for the version of yourself that is learning to master every word. Speak as if every word shapes your character, because it does.